Okay, so I don't have a big fancy video for this month because I'm literally at wit's end. I'm just done between the people trying to get out and to open up everything so they can be vectors of disease to kill the rest of us, and people who have never been sexual assault victims or advocated for them and probably don't know any, who are having a whole lot of opinions about the credibility of Tara Reid and the DNC, and then believing Dr. Ford, and now suddenly they don't believe Tara. I can't. I'm. So here's what we have. This is going to be um, the light and fluffy version of the May horoscopes. Now, this is an important month. Don't kid yourself. We've got a span of 3 or 4 days in the middle of the month that are particularly remarkable and noteworthy. There's also some observations we should be making about other countries and things that come up in the news as the month rolls along. I do have a written entry for this if you guys really want to do a deeper dive into the horoscope for the month. You can read it or you can listen to the audio version on the podcast. But for now, it's just going to be light, fluffy, and quick. Well, as light and fluffy as we get around here. All right. So the first thing is we start the month off on the heels of a quarter moon from last month because it occurred on the 30th. And it brought us murder hornets, of all things. The first major lunation that we have occurs on May 8th. And this lunation is going to be a full moon. This is a particularly interesting full moon for a number of reasons. A lot of it having to do with the fixed stars that are involved with this new moon. I'm sorry, the camera's all over the place, right? Okay. So this full moon occurs on April 7th or 8th, and it's at 15 Scorpio. The fixed star Zubin el-Janubi, which is not a happy fixed star, is on the degree of the full moon, and the Sabian symbols for this degree are children playing around 5 mounds of sand. Now, here in the United States, they've just reopened the businesses and the country, in many places, and our lovely and esteemed COVIDiot in charge has also approved a mandate that literally means you will not get unemployment if you do not return to work because your company or your government in your local government has decided that businesses should be open. So literally, if you don't march off to your death to make other people profit, they will not give you your unemployment. So one of the things that they're talking about also right now is that, with this releasing people back into the wild, sending people back out into the workforce like everything's normal too soon could easily result in a second wave that will be much worse than the first. With this said, and having done this now, and this is this May 2nd or 3rd, I would actually look for something around May 7th or 8th, not even a week or two out. They're calling for like 2 weeks before we start seeing. I think this may even be as fast as a week before we see another spike. So be aware and be mindful that things are more easily transmitted and things are being magnified and moving much faster around this full moon. So if you are one of the unfortunate people who is living in one of these states where they're forcing people to go back to work, please, by all means, take all the necessary precautions you can to stay away from these threats to your life and health. And these are legitimate, real threats to your life and health, even if we can't see them. And even if the idiot governor in charge or mayor in charge thinks that it's not a threat, remember, he is not a scientist and he is not a physician. So he is not qualified to talk about whether a viral pandemic is not a threat to your life and health in your local territory. Just done. I'm literally at my wit's end this month. Okay, as we move down through the month, we get to the quarter moon on May 14th. Now, the 3 days around this quarter moon, the 3 days the days up and around this quarter moon, from the 12th to the 15th, are significant days. Pay attention to what's going on, because what happens during this little span of time, this little week, is going to be a preview of how we can expect the theme for summer to be set. So we've got some major stuff happening that's going to give us an idea of what we're going to be struggling through during the summer. So pay attention. Pay attention. Also, one of the things that we may find is around this 14th, this quarter moon, a couple days before, a couple days after, is we may find that people literally have a come to Jesus moment, as it were. So if you're not from around here and you're not familiar with the saying, having a come to Jesus moment literally means having a time of reckoning with yourself, or a moment of complete, unabashed honesty with yourself and your creator. So we're going to have a come to Jesus moment around this quarter moon, which should be good. So some people should be turned in the right directions to do the right thing, not for personal glory, but for the greater good. So we will see. We will see. And again, like I said, do everything you can to keep yourself out of harm's way during this week, all month long for certainly, but definitely around this week. May 22nd, when we get down to the new moon in Gemini, it's going, now here's what's interesting about this particular new moon. When we get down to the new moon in Gemini on the 22nd, this is going to not unlock, but actually cement into place the things that are going to set the ball rolling for summer. So watch the developments between the 12th and the 15th. And when we get down to the 22nd around that new moon, mark your calendar for this stuff too. Make notes to yourself, you little budding astrologers. When we get down to May 22nd around that new moon, this should lock into place all the mechanisms that need to be existent for whatever we're going to be dealing with through the summer to come into manifestation and practical reality. Also, I'm liking this new moon. There should be some really strong positive developments around this time. Also, with this particular new moon, we will have Mercury and Venus conjunct the fixed star Bellatrix, who is the female warrior. So at this time, issues that have everything to do with women, right, and motherhood and children and family, all those things that come under the female umbrella, of priorities, will be very prominent this time. So we may see a strong push, both personally and in the outer world, in the global world, when it comes to female leadership. So females will finally rise up, and start showing their strength. So that will be good. So, and also too, I'm wondering with the events here in the U.S. with Joe Biden and Tara Reade and the sexual misconduct allegations, which I believe her. I believe her. And, people who are discounting and dismissing her are also not taking into account the fact that during that time period, it is an open secret, right? An open secret, which means it's a secret, but everybody kind of knows about it. They just don't talk about it. That senators and representatives, all congressmen, have been using the Senate House, the aides and the pages and the interns as their personal fishbowl of sexual dalliances. And a lot of closeted homosexual political leaders who are married to women, have kids, but they're banging little boys, are doing it with their pages and interns, right? And all this sort of stuff. And the problem, of course, is that in this situation, if you are a page or an intern working in those congressional halls, you're doing it because you want to have a future in government or in politics, which means that you are not in a position to piss off somebody who would literally ruin your future before you even have a chance to start it. So there's a lot going on that we're never going to hear about. Never. Because these people, when they were young and they're vulnerable and easily manipulated, right, and certainly very easily taken advantage of and bullied, are not in a position to understand exactly how to work around this. And at that time, this was such a given in the environment that there was, who are you going to complain to, right? It's like being violated by the police, and the entire police department's in on it, and they know about it. And who are you going to call? Are you going to call the police? They are the problem, right? So there's a lot of that. And in that time period, this is the time period that Harvard was there, molesting or sexually approaching interns, pages, the people, the underlings, the subordinates in those departments was not unusual. It was actually very common, and it was just a given, right? So this may very well be a situation where Joe Biden overstepped his boundaries because He's done it before, never had a problem. People were voluntarily and willingly going along with the program because this is how you get ahead, in the future. And you don't piss off people who could ruin your future, right? And she may not have realized that this is what the game is, in town, and was like not interested, and that's typically what sexual assault is, when you are applying yourself sexually to people who are not interested in you. So, there's that. And he would have had a lot of political pull and all this sort of stuff. So a lot of this stuff would have been buried. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people who've never been victims of sexual assault, don't know anybody who's ever been a victim of sexual assault, have a whole lot of opinions about her credibility, which is pretty impressive considering you know absolutely jack zero about being a victim of sexual assault and how this actually works in real life, especially in situations where it's an open secret that this is going on everywhere and nobody dares say a word. So with that said, the DNC's got a real issue on her hands. And I'm wondering if come this new moon on May 22nd, if female leadership becomes a critical turning point this month. I would love to see Elizabeth Warren back on the ticket, but I don't know how that works, right? So we'll see. And if Joe Biden is going to pick a female vice president, he's going to have to really pick a strong one. That's appealing to a lot of people to get past this hurdle. So we'll see how that goes. But Bellatrix, May 22nd, the new moon, female leadership in our global lives, my dog, and our personal ones. And when we get to the end of the month, we're going to close out with a quarter moon at 8 Virgo. Now, this quarter moon at 8 Virgo, like after everything that we're going to have been dealing with through the month, this is going to be like a quiet quarter moon, which we're kind of okay with. And I would look, this is actually a really solid quarter moon. So we're going to see some good things happening and like locking into place and like forward steps taken, right? Things marching and moving forward. Through this month, China, Russia, England, everybody, and the United States, like everybody's getting a big old spoonful of, oh my God, didn't see this coming. Happening, but we've also got some positive developments. I would look for South Korea to become very prominent in the news this month. And they may actually turn out to be a linchpin in terms of changing situations and making improvements. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing how that plays out. Otherwise, for you guys in normal everyday life, here's what you got. So the month of May is going to be a very busy, because it's all this Gemini, right? Very busy, light, fresh air, sunshine, nobody's taking a whole lot seriously month. And people are going to be social and want to be social. And communications and, very casual approaches to life and living and problems is going to be very, very abundant because, we're all a little nuts right now. However, this doesn't mean that people are not misguided. This does not mean people are not misguided. So for those of you who are out and about looking for love, this is not the month to do it. This is a great month to go out and, risk getting coronavirus, I suppose. But it is not the month to try to make any major commitments. So for those of you who have May weddings planned, it's going to be a rough ride. Your marriage won't be easy. If you can get through it, your marriage is going to be solid as a rock, but it's the getting through it part that's difficult. For everybody else, this, as far as daily normal life stuff, so with things that have to do with beautifying your home, like, getting your hair dyed, and getting your nails done and all that sort of stuff, these will not necessarily satisfy you the way you had wanted them to. So be conservative in your purchases if you can. Also understand that it looks like money is going to lock up and get tight like this, like cinching a belt after the 12th. So plan ahead. A whole lot of unexpected developments could cause a lot of financial stress and difficulty for many of us. So with that, and you don't need an astrologer to figure that out. But the timing on this is official starting around the 12th, right around this quarter moon. So with that said, I would say plan ahead and try not to, bet the farm or invest a whole lot of money in indulgent things, because you might need that money for practical things sooner than you think. And also, what else we got going on this month? I don't really have a whole lot more to add that I haven't written down or covered in the first video. But other than that, it's actually separate from that. it's actually going to be a pleasant month. So the fresh air and the sunshine is going to help a lot. Like it's going to be a very light, airy month. So if you can get out and talk to people and get your mind off of things and go, give yourself some breathing room, right? I just tread lightly through stuff. You're going to find it helps a lot. It helps a lot. But again, try to avoid being irresponsible and definitely be very careful around people who are way too casual and way too cavalier with very real issues. A lot of people like to think that they're authorities on stuff, and they're not. And they're not. So this month, more than anything else, is going to feel like one giant internet forum because everybody's got an authority expert opinion on everything, even things they know nothing about. And so that's where we're going to end the video. And I'm going to leave this video with this little thing for you, reminder. Okay. And then I'll let you guys go. So when it comes to having an opinion on something, if you don't have any experience with it, that means that you don't have any opinions worth offering. Remember that, right? I can't sit here and talk about how debilitating having a, a prostate issue is, or how this affects my quality of life, or better yet, here's one. I can have all kinds of opinions about how the inability to have an erection affects my life. Because, a man needs an erection. And, clearly, if, blah, 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 or a man doesn't need an erection, especially after 40. So what's with all this Viagra and Cialis, old man? You don't need erections. Like, who are you trying to make babies with? Right? Yada, yada, yada. I can have all these opinions all I want. But the fact of the matter is, nobody's going to know better how that impacts quality of life than the person who has that experience. I will never have that experience because obviously I'm not a man. And it's the same thing with anything else. So people spouting opinions about things, the first thing you always want to do, especially this month, is check in and say, really, please tell me about your personal experience with this, or your personal area of expertise. Because if you don't have expertise or experience in something, your opinion isn't worth the air it takes to make it. And you should probably keep quiet, maybe ask a few questions and learn instead. All right, so that's the May Quickie horoscope. Again, we've got it. I'll put the links down in the description box. We've got a podcast, which will be up in a couple of days, and we also have a written blog version of May because it's just, I just can't. I'm not feeling very playful and lovely on video because of all this stupidity that seems to be rampant these days. Talk to you later. Bye.